Today on DIY Dave, we're going to be doing the very first oil change on this 2022 Toyota Tacoma. 2 GR-FKS engine, Dynamite V6. Just thought I'd bring you along and show you the process. Hope you'll join us. Okay, now, step one, we're going to get this beast elevated. Now, my garage is kind of small, and on some of my other videos, which I'll probably put a link to up here, about a year ago I got a QuickJack, and I wondered how I was going to get this beast on a QuickJack. So, what I did in another part of this video that I excerpted for a short as a preview, lined up the jack underneath the main frame rail that runs stem to stern of the vehicle. If you have a QuickJack, a 5000 TLX model is what I have, and you happen to have a 3rd generation Tacoma, you might be wondering where the lift points were. Well, normally you'd use one of these pinch weld blocks and capture the side of the frame along the pinch weld. You can't do that on a Tacoma. So I've got my blocks lined up against the front part of the frame rail, the rear part of the jack lined up against the rear part of the frame rail, going up smoothly and evenly, and that's how we're going to lift her up. Let's watch. And folks, we are secured, locks are engaged, and we are at max height. This is what we've got. We've got maximum height on this guy, and it is in great shape. We've got plenty of room. As you can see, my garage is really short. I've got the back end of the truck sticking out. But beyond that, we are fully secured. We're elevated. We're going to go ahead and get the oil changed. Now, the first thing that we're going to keep in mind here is to get to the oil change bolt and to the oil filter, you got to take this big skid plate off here. There are, I believe, 4 10mm bolts along here that we've got to take out, let this guy out, and then the rest of it is just a pretty straightforward spill and fill on the oil and to get the filter out. So we'll go ahead and get the 10mm wrench out and get those things taken off. Need to make a correction. This is not a 10mm bolt. It is a 12mm, as evidenced by this guy. If I put it on there the right direction, fitting right on there. So we'll go ahead and use these, get these guys loose. Just for the sake of illustration, it is really close quarters here, guys, but here we have one on this skid plate. There's one bolt here, and then the other 2, there's one, and it's really hidden because of the light. It's in the dark shadows here, one right here and one right here. And if I'm not mistaken, there are a couple of little catches. So even if you take these 4 bolts out, this thing will, I think, turn loose, and then you can slide it out, and then you can have access. So we'll go ahead and get one of these guys. Wish I had my light to make it easier, because it's not easy to see this one that's buried, but we'll go ahead and doing this one-handed here, folks. Now, just so you'll know, the recommended oil change interval for this guy is 5,000 miles or 6 months. This truck I got this truck in late August of last year. I am taping, filming, videoing, whatever you want to call it, this on February 11th. So I've had it just under 6 months, and it has 3,200 miles. And I intend to keep this on a faithful 6-month, 5,000 mile interval. I am just too firm a believer in that interval for these newer engines. I think cheapest insurance you can have is spend a little extra on an extra oil change and get a lot more years out of your car. Hopefully you can still. There we go. Again, hope I'm not falling out of focus too much, but doing this with one hand is a little tricky. But I wanted you to see where these guys were. After a little bit of close range fiddling, I got those front two bolts that were kind of in the shade loose, and sure enough, the skid plate here pivots down, and I'm kind of close in, so it's a little tough to see. But we'll rotate this thing down and get this puppy out of here. Okay, skid plate is off. There's our oil filter. Just a plastic canister in the housing. Typical Toyota design here with this inset that you can release to drain the oil out first and then take the housing out. I don't know if anyone that actually messes with it. I think it's a total pain in the neck. I just take the whole housing out, replace the cartridge, and then we'll be coming over, and then also we'll use there's our drain plug for the drain pan, and it takes between 6 and 7 quarts. Depending on whether you've got a separate oil cooler. I believe the change on this one is 6.2 quarts. And I will be replacing the crush washer on this. 0W20 oil, you start to get thinner oils, burning a little bit warmer. I've not historically been big on changing crush washers, but on the RAV4 that you've seen in my other video, you might have seen in my other video, and on this guy, I'm replacing crush washers. So, and they're standard. The same crush washer fits, I think, a bajillion different Lexus and Toyota models. So, anyway, we'll go ahead and get the wrench and get the drain going. If you've worked on any Toyotas before, you won't be too surprised to find out this is just your basic 14mm drain plug. Ow! Slipped. There we go. That oil looks pretty good. That still has anytime I can pull oil out of an engine that looks like it's got kind of at least a mapley honey color, even if it is a little dark, which is just kind of normal, I feel pretty good about it. That looks really good for a brand new first change oil. So we'll let this go until it drips, and we'll go ahead and change the drain plug and put it back in. While the oil is draining, this is as good a time as any to point out. Here are our crush washers. Here's the Toyota number 90430-12031. I grabbed a bag of these. I had some at the local Toyota dealer. Grabbed those. Oil spec is 0W20, 6.2 quarts. Double check this should take 6.2 with a filter, and other than that, we're just waiting for the oil to finish draining, and we will replace the filter. Okay, the oil pan has stopped draining to the point where I'm not going to worry about it anymore. I put the new crush washer on the fill plug, so we're going to put that puppy back up there. If I can get it started without dropping it. There, that's much better. I don't recall the exact torque spec from Toyota on this thing. I want to say it's something like, I'm not even going to say because I'm not sure what the torque spec is, but as a matter of experience, not that I'm some seasoned mechanic, but I've changed a lot of oil in a lot of Toyotas. Real world is to get it as tight as it needs to be, but no tighter. Well, there. Because it wasn't exceptionally, I could break it loose with my hand before, so it doesn't need to be more than hand tight. Or, well, somewhat more than hand tight, I'll put it that way, that I can get with a wrench. I'm not the strongest guy in the world, but there. There. I think that's good enough. All right, now let's shift over here and we will get this oil filter replaced. Now, I'm going to tell you right up front, some people will go ahead and take a small hex nut. They'll run a little they'll run a little wrench in here, and they'll loosen this little inner plug first, the little tube. There's a little drain fill that you can use with a little tube, and you can drain the filter, so that when you bring out this whole housing, it doesn't drain and make a mess. If you want to do that, power to you. That's great. I personally, just a matter of preference, I find it to be a colossal waste of time. Okay, we have gone to a different camera, a different tripod, better visibility, sweetness and light, abounding for all possibilities. So let's give this a try. Yeah, here it comes. I'll tell you what, folks, that is not on Gorilla Type. I mean, I did not have to put a whole lot of beans to get that loose. And I'll tell you, I've got weak arms. I am not some big strong guy. I'll promise you that right now. So I'm going to go ahead, and this is about to come loose. So I'm going to go ahead and there we go. And we will, of course, replace this gasket with one that's supplied in the filter kit. Here's our old filter, which we'll pull out of there. And just for the sake of illustration, we are talking about the dreaded 04152YZZA1, which is a filter that has been used on this engine since it was a 2GRFE back in an old 2008 Sienna that we used to have. By the way, you can get these oil filters at Walmart, but they're cheaper by about half if you go to a dealer and you go to their online Toyota parts website. For example, just as a little bit of information, for convenience's sake, I could pick up one of these filters, that an OEM original filter from Walmart, Toyota filter. It was like $7.86. If I went to the online parts store for a local Toyota dealer just down the road, the exact same filter was $4.32. So I bought 4. Now, if you go to the store, if you go to the parts department of that dealership, you do not get the online price. They give you a bonus for ordering it online. Took them a day to fill the order, but I knew I was going to do this, so I ordered it in advance. There's our filter, there's our gasket. We'll go ahead and pull this out of the package and put it on the canister, replace the filter, and replace the cartridge. Couldn't find my little pick tool, so I just grabbed a little utility screwdriver. Focus, please. Got a utility screwdriver, got underneath there. Pull the old gasket off. Here's our new gasket. We'll put a little bit of oil on this just to lubricate it up. And we'll put it back on the ring. Make sure you get it on the correct. Really, you're gonna get it right back. Again, man, focus. This thing is not having a good time focusing. And we are in business. I don't know why this thing is having such a tough time focusing. There we go, there's some focusing. But we are in like Flynn, so now all we've got to do is put in the new filter element. Business done. See, the mess just wasn't that bad. That's why I just don't bother with a little drain deal. I'm spending 5 minutes or 10 minutes to save 5, and it's just not worth it. That hurt. There. I think that's tough enough. All right, we're now here up top, just under the hood. Here's our oil filler cap. And one thing I will point out is that the owner's manual for this vehicle calls out not just SAE 0W20, but it calls out compliance with ILSAC GF6A. And it just so happens, if this thing will focus, this Pennzoil calls out that specific spec, ILSAC GF6A. Okay, longer, narrower funnel, which should be much more conducive to our project. Here we go. Okay, there's our first 5 quarts, all over Hicks half acre. All right. We're gonna level this guy out. We've got the marker on this thing, and this is relatively level. We put in about 1 1/4 quarts. Well, it seems to me, folks, all that's left is to crank it up, check for leaks, and we're done. Looks good. There's our oil filter. Looks good. We're going to let this run for a couple of minutes and call it good. Well, it's been 3 minutes actual elapsed time since we started our timers. Our drain plug here is perfect, dry as a bone. Our filter housing is perfect. I declare victory. This oil change is completed. So all that's really left to finish off this oil change is to do a final check on the engine level on the dipstick, and then I'll replace that skid plate. It's just the reverse of what I did when I took those 4 bolts out. Just slide that rear part of that skid plate into those little latches on the back, swing it up, put in the 4 bolts, and you're done. So there's no point in videoing that. It's just a reverse of what of the removal. And other than that, we're good. So let's go ahead and give the dipstick a check, and we'll call it finished. We are within a hair's breadth of that top dot. We're perfect. Absolutely where we want to be. So folks, this oil change is done, 100%, yippee doodle. We're good for another 6 months or 5,000 miles, whichever occurs first. Well, hope you enjoyed this video. I honestly didn't really intend to tape this. I wanted to get this done, and I've got some other work for some friends I'm getting ready to do. Wasn't going to take the time to video it, but I saw a couple of threads about putting a Tacoma on a QuickJack. Was looking for that information myself, finally found out that the best way to do it was to put it on the rails, so I thought I was going to go ahead and video that, and I thought, what the heck, I'll go ahead and video the rest. Pretty straightforward. This is a similar oil change to the way this engine is used in some other Toyota vehicles. The oil pan's a little different, but the plug and the crush washer, the filter, and the oil types are all the same. If you like these DIY videos, I would really ask respectfully that you consider giving us a thumbs up and subscribe. Can't say we publish these on a regular basis. It's whenever we get a chance. Lots of stuff going on. This is not my full-time thing. I do this for fun. I dive into tech stuff, car stuff, house stuff, whatever the project that happens to come up, that's what I try to video and share the knowledge along with you. I hope you have a blessed day. Thank you very much for watching. Please leave your comments and questions and concerns and constructive criticism in the comments below. Hope you'll join us in the future for the next video. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye, everybody.